He has been credited with writing a book. This is his first book. Here comes the plug. Clipped Wings, They Do Fly. Our esteemed keynote speaker, William Michael Barbee, author of Clipped Wings, They Do Fly, and brilliant businessman, author, philanthropist, and more.
Thank you for having me. Why don't you give yourselves a round of applause? I'm indeed honored. I guess feel like the child who is coming home. Salvation Army has been of great benefit not only to me, and you heard part, but to my family at large. But before I go into the details of who I am, I must first give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, none of this would be possible for me. So I don't take any of this credit. I speak from the heart. Though I brought notes, after hearing and learning in this past hour, it made me step away from my notes, because when you don't know, or you assume that you know some things about an organization, you have one perspective. So I did the homework. I could tell you about Mr. William Booth, and I could tell you about Salvation Army's mission, its messages, and so forth. But as I got here, and I saw the kids over here, and one of the kids, Sydney, who helped earlier, and just her spirit, and I was asking her about the incident that happened with the young lady who recently was killed in her home, and she was sharing in part with regards to the services that's being provided to the high school at Campus High. I was just overwhelmed in a sense with emotion. So for me, it's not really about me, it's about the children, it's not about us, it's about the children, and that we encourage them to do better. Now, that's one of the things we read our script, try to be cool about it, First you start with a bow tie. That doesn't work. So let me just go back. I remember growing up in the city of Newark and looking at the opportunities that were before me. And I want to go back to talk about more of the opportunities that I had and role models I had. My role models weren't on television, because we had one black and white television with rabbit ears. And often the rabbit ears would break because we broke them. And then you would put aluminum foil, right, and a hanger to get your reception. And quite often, me being the youngest of 5 children, I was the one holding the hanger. So I didn't get a chance to really watch much television, to say the least. But the beauty with me growing up inside of my family and inside of the house, my role models became my family members. One role model left early, that was James Williams. He was here earlier. He's 82 years old today, but he's the retired director of Essex County Welfare. He was the first African American. He served for 28 years. I'm forever proud of him. He's happy when I speak of him, but he tries to regress and they're like, no, don't talk about me, keep going. I was introducing him to Mr. Arrington. He was like, I don't know why this, what you're saying, so he enjoys it just as much as I. But I had role models within my family. I had my mother, who was a social worker. I had my father, who was a machinist, and he was a father who was committed to his family, but more important, into social justice. My father marched on Washington when he was in his younger day. He fought in the Korean War, traveled the world. He joined the union, the NAACP. He was affiliated, the head of his chapter. He was a local a committee man on his local with the UAW, United Auto Workers. So I was forever grateful to have role models within my family. I didn't look at the athletes. I didn't look at whoever. I was athletic, so I didn't have to look at them to want to esteem to be something. In 1980, we had a fire. It was set by the landlord, unfortunately. And back in 1980, city of Newark, we lived in a 3-story walk-up. We lost everything we owned. We lost our 2 cousins, one 7, that was Venetian, and one 13, 14, that was Chrissy. Chrissy was deaf and mute. We lived on the 3rd floor, they were on the 2nd floor. the landlord set the house on fire for insurance purposes. That's what ended up being his whatever. Fact to the matter is that we were displaced and lost everything. My earliest memory for the Salvation Army didn't only come in the summer of 1980 on South 19th Street in the city of Newark. It came way before that. I remember as a kid, before the Highway 78 was there. In 1969, 1970, I remember the red hell for the Salvation Army outside of Pathmark on Lyons Avenue. Not the one we see today. There was another one between Dewey and Aldine Place. And my mom used to drop a penny in there. Then in 1970, we thought we were getting up and moving out, but we were just shopping and come back to the hood. But we went to Union Pathmark and we would drop our pennies in there. But I was always honored and happy not to know that that same organization, when our house was burning up, when we were clothesless. I mean, I was a teenager, so I, horrible, you know the story. So I thought I was, big and bad and stuff. But when you don't have anything and it's 2 in the morning and you're in your underwear, we saw this big white truck with red letters. Our neighbors came out. But it was those people in that organization, the Salvation Army, that came to our aid. It was the Salvation Army that provided us with food. And not only us, the firemen, everyone were benefiting that night, followed up with services. We were displaced for a number of years, actually. My parents didn't have insurance. They didn't have renter's insurance. Most people don't even know about renter's insurance, but you can get renter's insurance even today. But we were displaced for a couple of years. Within that 6 months, we lived on, there was a welfare hotel on Evergreen, a place called the Lincoln Hotel. We stayed there. Salvation Army helped us then. They provided us with clothing. We went to their facilities downtown Newark, I believe. And the new location is still downtown Newark off of Pennington Court, somewhere over there. But they gave us clothing. But I remember going to high school smelling like smoke. High school friend here, Siobhan Collins, came out to be a support today. And this is probably new information for her, but probably she's seen the process. But I went to high school with a little anger. It wasn't until my sophomore year that I released the anger and became more resolved when I got a girlfriend. And I no longer smell like smoke.
That'll do it.
But for the longest, I did smell like smoke, and I did have a sense of resentment towards that. When I did my study on the Salvation Army, and I read up on its origin, and I saw where one should not concern themselves with comfort if their brother is suffering. And with the mission, purpose, and meaning of Salvation Army, it's about going out into the hedges, and as the Bible says, hedges and highways. And as you go out into the world, you're trying to better the world. And when I did more and more research, I thought about my situation back then. And for me today to speak about, I have 48 employees, 6 companies, and I did this, traveled the world, blah, 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 without telling you the process, I would be doing you a disservice. Because I want each one of those kids over there to understand that today you may be going through hardships. Because I know if we were displaced in 1980, we were homeless in 1980, we had absolutely nothing. We lived in a welfare hotel on Evergreen Place. 30 years later, who would ever imagine I owned an office building across the street from the hotel that I was displaced in? So today, you can be one place of despair, discomfort. Tomorrow you can be in a better place. You could be somewhere where if you just trust in the Lord. And that was one of my things that I needed to do. I'm one of those people in our community that openly talks about depression. I talk about suicide. Today I sit on the board at the Mental Health Association of Essex, right here in the town of Montclair, New Jersey. I was just honored last week by the governor of the state of New Jersey. I got the Merit Award for Governor's Council on Mental Illness Stigma.